Hello, welcome to the Critical Obsession podcast. My name is Mirella,
And I'm Zoe.
and this is part two of our reaction slash critical discussion to episode one of Not Me.
Yes.
So, continuing with part three.
3 of 4, yes. So this is where we start to sort of get a little bit more of like the heart of what's happening in this drama. Besides, the black white of it, the white Sean of it. This is where we start to get to meet our villain essentially of the story. And so White goes to the uni to basically start his investigation, and he takes a taxi, which, like, I don't know why, but when I was first watching it made me laugh because I was like, why is he taking a taxi? But I didn't, because like we saw that he had Black's motorcycle, and he picks up the keys in the last part, doesn't he? Like, he takes the keys with him, so it implies he's going to drive the bike. At least that's how I interpreted it at the time.
Mm.
Um,
But he doesn't know
and
how to drive it.
yeah, he doesn't know how to drive it. So, yeah, I must admit, I was like, okay. And we're introduced to the villain of the
So,
piece, which is Tawi.
he's a supporter of a political party, he's a businessman.
Basically, the general gist of it is that he is a very well-known, very influential businessman, involved in the political landscape of Thailand, and who has lots of
He
influence.
has the ability to run the country, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And it's a well-known fact that he's corrupt essentially, but like no one can do anything about it. So while the people don't like him, he's also like a huge provider of like a bunch of things that people purchase
Mm.
because they don't have any, there's no competition. So it's like he owns the marketplace essentially.
He has too much
Um
influence.
yeah, he has too much influence. That's correct. So we are essentially introduced to him because White is reading a big poster informing everyone at the
Mm.
university, basically, that Tawi will be doing a panel or presentation there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because White tells us who he is in a very like kind of matter of fact way, from the perspective of, once again, from someone who's being diplomatic. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
talks about how Tawi is positioned, in the media, like how the media sees him, how the public sees him. um
Mm-hmm.
it's like, it's more like he's explaining to
He's
us who he
detached.
is. Sorry.
It's like he's not affected by
Yeah,
whatever
it's like, yeah,
he
it's
sees.
very, yeah, it's very like, yeah, it's very just, it's facts, that's it. And it's interesting because obviously later on we're going to get introduced to Tawi from the perspective of the people that he's actually hurt personally, like the
Yeah,
people for who he is truly a real villain. And
yeah.
so what happens instead here is we meet Graham. And Graham questions where Black has been missing, because he's been missing for several days. And he
Brown
asks,
is very playful and fearless to approach the Black that we later know like that.
yeah, it's interesting. It's funny because this once again, this was an interesting, this whole, the gram of this is one of those things where it was such a huge discourse in the fandom when Not Me was airing, because I believe in the original book, like Graham and Black are a thing, I think. Um and
I feel like he has this tendency to play with fire. Like he enjoys getting involved in dangerous things.
I
Because
think with,
later when we get to know him, like he likes being a little reckless. He feels like he's doing the right thing. He feels courageous when
yeah, I feel like
yeah,
he's playing though. I feel
yeah.
like this, yeah, I feel like for whatever
He's playing.
reason,
He's
yeah,
playing because when he says I like this version of you, it means that he doesn't really like the previous version, the way
yeah.
he says
It's
it.
it's so funny because, as I said, there was a lot of discourse in the fandom when this episode, well, when this show was airing, because so many people were attached to the original novel or whatever. Um, and I don't know why, because I tried to read it and it was very difficult. But that's all I'll say on that. But
Did
in it,
not
I
know.
believe.
How many
Sorry.
times I'm going to say I did not know. I did not know anything. Nothing.
But yeah, so one of the things that there was a thing was obviously in the book, I believe that Graham and Black are like an end game pairing or whatever, or they have a history or something. And so, you know, like straight away we had these two figurines with the B and the G, and everyone's like, oh, it's got to be Graham. And then Graham is super kind of almost flirty a little bit with White here when he thinks he's Black. As you said, the fact that Black is just basically, he is, and I don't feel like this is spoiling anything, but Black is like a porcupine, like you would not, or like a cactus, you would not want to hug it, you know. Like I have a t-shirt that I used to wear all the time, and it was my favorite t-shirt, and it basically says free hugs on it with a picture of a cactus. And in other words,
Your
don't
t-shirt collection is freaking amazing. I want it. I'm gonna fly to you and steal it.
Well, I could just send you parts of it, because honestly, I don't wear most of them. But not
I'll
anymore
be
anyway.
waiting.
I used to. These are like my Comic-Con t-shirts. But yeah, and so like basically it's like a don't fucking touch me t-shirt. But I feel like Black is that personality. Black is like a spiky cactus that you would not just casually sling your arm around like Graham does. The fact that Graham does that means that they have a different relationship to most other people. And I feel like it's potentially in this realm that Pinucci created, not the original story, like in this world, I feel like it's partly because for whatever reasons Black tolerates him in a different way to the others. It's like, as we learn,
it's like Graham challenges himself by being like that with Black. It's like a challenge too.
But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't want to give too much away, because obviously this is something that's revealed later on. But like everybody who's involved in this group has a reason for it, and Black, White, and friggin', I'll get the right name in a minute. Graham is, I feel like he is someone who is playing at being
a rebel.
Yeah, he's not actually
I don't know. I don't think he's playing. I just think he's a bit immature. He's kind of childish.
He's naive.
Like
he doesn't have the backstory or the reasoning to be involved the way the others are. He has his ideals and things that he thinks should be a certain way, or it's unfair because of this. But he hasn't been touched in the same way that the other characters have been touched by this particular person. And so
no, because I think actually I like the fact that in their group there's a person who is not personally affected by what's happening, but he just wants to make the world a better place. I think it's a good thing. But I like how he's kind of put in antithesis. How do you say it? Like with Nooch.
Yeah, Nooch. Yeah.
Like they're opposites, because she is mature. She is strategic. Well, he has this childish, idealistic view of the world, and it's like he's stubborn, and like you look at him and you think of a teenager who's like, oh, the world will move for me,
Yeah, it's funny
being very stubborn.
Yeah, because his arguments for things and the way he behaves, funnily enough, reminds me of my dad. My dad is very much like that with technology. Like he'll say to me, Zoe, can you do this? And I'll say, no, you can't, because it doesn't, like this computer or this program or your phone or whatever, it doesn't work like that. And he'll say to me, but it should. And I'm like, I don't disagree with you. Yes, it should work this way, but that is not how it is created. That is not how it is built. That is not how the world functions. Like, and this is what Nooch is saying to him in this scene that they have in the classroom. Is they're having this conversation about laws and stuff, and he's like, this is a problem because XYZ, and she's going, I understand you, but you're not basing it in actual factual law.
You have to play the game in order to win it. You cannot just say that the game is unfair, and because life is unfair, but you have to leave it. You have to go through the system in order to get somewhere.
You can't just cross your arms and like stamp your foot and throw a tantrum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what he's doing.
So maybe it's his innocence that
Mm,
reminds Black of white.
mm. That's an interesting
Maybe.
idea.
Yeah, that was my thought when I was watching it. So, but it's so funny because people were like, oh, had this mindset of from the very beginning that Black and Graham are going to be a thing. Black and Graham are going to be a thing. Once again, I'm not saying what happens or what doesn't happen, but like they were so fixated on it already. And I'm watching this, and I was already like, as I said, I wasn't full shipping, but I'm like, no, Todd Black all the way. I had already chosen
I
my
did.
team. Uh,
I did not think of Todd Black. I did not think of Graham Black. I was just, watching.
you were
I
just
was very
watching it.
much intrigued. I was intrigued because, like, the series that I tried before that, they, mm, they did not look interesting to me. Like, this one had such a different vibe, and you felt right from the start that it was trying to tell you something, and it had
Teach
things to
you,
say.
yeah,
Yeah.
teach you things, yeah, and and it's and
And you
it's
like you really had to be attentive and listen in order to get that. You couldn't just like
mm,
and you needed to focus, and that, like, you had to watch it actively.
yeah, and there is so many facets of this show. Like while this show was airing, things were happening. Pinucci was putting things in this show like as they were happening, like in that climate, and that's
Mm.
what made it really interesting. It's what made it really risky, um, and
Well,
it was
I
so
didn't know that, but
interesting.
I could feel that. I could feel that
Yeah,
while you,
it
because
has a real.
I come from a society where stuff like this happened.
It's similar,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, so
The
it just hit home. It hit home.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like it had a realism to it because of that, and it almost like a sense of urgency to it, even when there's like this the scenes aren't in a dramatic like motion. What the hell is that? That's not a word, Zoe. In like a dramatic motion, like of moving forward. It's not a tense dramatic. It's they still seem to have this like sense of urgency to them because
Mhm.
there was a realism underlining the fact that hang on a minute, this is not just I'm not just telling you a tale, or I'm not just whatever. I haven't just thrown this in here to get to the next scene. I'm telling you something important and you should listen
Yeah, it's
to
like,
it.
are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? You should be paying attention.
Yeah.
Because if you pay attention, the experience will be so much more enriching, gratifying, or like,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway,
worthwhile.
so Graham appears and he starts talking about Tawi, and he said something like, "This asshole enjoys taking advantage of ours." He quotes Black when he said
Yeah,
that.
because he
He
says to
will
him,
pay him back.
yeah, what he actually says to him was he asks if they should join Tawi's visit, and
Cause him
like,
some trouble.
yeah, cause him trouble, basically implying straight away that they have an issue with him. And Graham says to him, "It's like you said, this asshole enjoys taking advantage of others, and he will pay someday." So it's
And
pretty like
White is
kind of full
haunted
on.
by this version of Black that he doesn't know, and he starts knowing Black through these
Yeah.
new people, and he's a completely new and
Well, he's
different person, like a very
yeah,
strange person to him.
yeah. It's funny because he's this hostile person, and yet if we go back and we look at the youthful Black that we've seen, he was already you could squint and see shades of this of him, in that he already had a very clear idea of the fact that the world is not fair, it is not safe, and that you needed to stick up for yourself to protect yourself, that you had to be aware of what was going on, not let people take advantage of you. Like he was very cynical for a young kid. So the fact
Yeah,
that he's now a young adult in university studying things like political science and law and stuff like that, he
and
coming
he
from
keeps fighting. He keeps
coming from
fighting.
yeah, coming from privilege, getting into trouble seemingly, probably from the perspective of like outsiders or parents or other adults or people from his socioeconomical background, stuff like that. He's a troublemaker. He's troubled. He's
Mhm.
whatever. He's hostile, but he's not like that for no reason. Something happened to him, and it's just that whatever happened, like what we and you can't get into that because we don't know that at this point or whatever. But like you have to assume that something happened to him, and
Oh,
it's triggered this hostility in him because
you know what
he
happened? He got separated with white, and white became white and black became black. You know, very, very, very white and black. They became very white and black. And they, when they together, they both become gray.
it's
Um,
interesting because they didn't like it, yeah, definitely the start of the evolution of black becoming this hostile person that you could see shades of, like, because the things that he already knew of the world came more in sharp into focus and more real as he got older. um and so definitely the start of it would have been taking White away from him for sure. um
so Graham notices that White is wearing perfume, that his skin looks better.
Yeah, it's so
And
funny because he says, "Yeah, your skin looks better, your hair is styled," and it's so funny because these are all potential mistakes that White has made in the way he's presented himself. But he isn't caught
Mhm.
out in this. This is the other thing. Like I want to say that Graham isn't the brightest light in the street. Would be a
No,
way that
actually,
I would
no, I don't agree.
put it
I don't
politely.
agree with you. I remember people had, like, when I came, like when I read comments and people were like, "Oh, how can they not know the difference is so striking?" But just imagine you know a person and um
Oh no, look, I
you don't have.
I agree. The immediate response wouldn't be like, "Oh, secret twin." Like, I mean,
Yeah,
it
you
might be
think
if you
something
just watched
happened
Not
to
Me.
them. You thought
But
you'd
what?
think something happened to them, and they
Oh yeah,
suddenly
but
change because, yeah,
but
people change.
but what I mean about him being not the brightest light in the street, it's not so much the acknowledging the fact that something is different. It's the way that he goes, "Oh, this is weird," and then he just like comes up with an excuse for, like, he keeps handing White excuses like get out of jail free
But maybe
cards.
because he doesn't care that much, and plus,
I think,
they're not besties. They're not that close. They both have this distance, unspoken distance, right? The
yeah,
unspoken between them,
yeah. I mean,
and
something happens between them, which happens later
and
on,
plus,
which people will find out
Black.
about.
I feel like the real Black wouldn't actually give him answers. So he'd always have to come up with his fun answers for
Like
his
make up
own
his own
questions.
story for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like as well. It like part of what's happening here is I'm going to contradict myself now because I'm agreeing with you. That you're like, yes, I'm so right. But yeah, because there's this underlying moment in this scene, especially where he's like, "Oh, your hair is different, and you're wearing perfume, blah blah blah. Oh, you met someone, didn't you?" And he teases him
Mm,
about meeting a girl or whatever, and it's like there's a thing that happens later on, and
mhm.
when you think about it from that perspective, it's kind of in Graham's best interest. Like that one, like a really good thing for him would be if Black had met someone new.
Mhm.
Like that's good news for for Graham, if Black has met someone new. Kind of like, so like this idea of like, oh, did you meet someone new? Like this is good. Like it shadows everything else, you know.
Mhm.
But I just mean like even later on, like when they're in the classroom and like White clearly has no idea what the fuck is going on. He's so confused. He keeps saying really dumb shit. And then like, and instead of just going like, what on earth is wrong with you, and like fully questioning him, he's
Mhm.
straight away like, "Oh, you're messing with me," which, as you said, probably is more Black style. Although I don't know that Black would necessarily bother messing with him. I think he would just be like, I don't know. I feel like Black would be hugely non-verbal unless he had something to say, because we at this point we don't really get to see the Black before.
No, I just feel like with their dynamic, Graham would say some, stuff, and he'd keep talking and talking, and Black would just ignore him when it gets too much for him, and Graham would
Keep talking or just
just I forgot the word.
Cameo from Darcy. Does Darcy have something?
He
Does
would just
Darcy have an opinion?
oh,
Darcy
he
has an
has a
opinion.
lot to say. He always has opinions. Well, I meant he would just entertain himself with his own versions, with his own answers to his own questions, and
Yeah.
Black would just ignore him.
Hey, Darcy, what do you think? Who's right, me or Morella?
He went away.
Of course he did.
But are we?
You
Do we
know.
have different opinions? Anyway, so we meet Nooch.
Yes, I love Nooch, by the way.
She's an amazing character. She is, and she is much more chill and suspicious about Black.
Yeah, she totally
Like
is.
she
Like,
asks
she's
the
got this
question.
like silently judging him thing happening. Like, she's like, what is going on with you right now?
While Graham keeps justifying him.
Yeah. It's so funny because he's just like because he's like so confused about as I said, the class, what's going on, you know, all the rest of it. Even to the point, the other thing that gets me with Graham, and maybe this was the real thing that kind of made me go like, hang on, wait a minute, because because White actually says to him, okay, where's our classroom? like like what, you assume they go there like a couple of times a week or whatever for however long. Like, is that not a weird question to you? Like, that he suddenly can't remember where the classroom is? Like, I would be concerned. Did you get hit on the head? Like, I as I said, I'm not suggesting, you know, weird secret twin, but I'm just at the same time, I'm like, he's like, Graham is like la la la, like with all these inconsistencies with White. Like, he's way less suspicious, whereas like, and he's meant to know Black better. Like, him and Black are actually meant to be friends. Yoke and Sean are people that just have the same like interests and in regards like hate Kawi. Yeah. So the fact that like Sean and Yoke are more like what the fuck about White than Graham is like, is what I mean when I'm just like, I feel like Graham has his, this potentially maybe later on this conversation as to why Graham is the way he is here. But yeah, initially though, my response was I didn't think he was the brightest light in the street.
Yes, they speak about how this class always comes with a quiz, and Graham jumps at the opportunity to like teach Black a little bit, because they say Black is always the one who knows things, who aces this class. And so they speak about rule of law and rule by law, and my heart hurts. I just like when I heard White being like, what are the words in Thai? I'm like, I feel you.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about that, and this besides White having to have this persona that he's putting on to pretend to be Black, not knowing, like, you know, like he walks into the classroom and he sees Nooch and he's like, who's this? Like, he's like, oh my god, I need to know somebody else. I don't know who she is. Like, he's like, oh. And like, he has no idea what the class is, how you know, what, there's a quiz, you know, like there's all these things happening. Besides all of that, this boy's been living in Russia for like 10 years. He probably mostly has been speaking either English or Russian. So to switch back to speaking Thai almost full time would be so hard. So the fact that he's like, I don't remember what the words are in Thai, like, he's, you know, it doesn't suit, definitely doesn't fit Black's character, but it's like, it's one more complication from what side of things on like how, you know, how he's navigating this situation.
Yes, and so they go on to speak about what rule of law means. And it basically means that all laws apply equally, all citizens are equal under the law. And he asks Black if Thailand is ruled by law. And he says, of course. But Graham does not agree, because he says that governing authorities make and enforce laws to benefit themselves. And then Nooch says that he cannot just say that because he's a law student and he must try playing by the rules. He must provide statutory references to debate each case one by one.
Mm.
But he reacts like a stubborn child who
Yeah,
just doesn't want to be diplomatic, and he
yeah,
just, I do
and he
not
does.
agree. I will speak
Yeah,
about how we.
yeah. And so he basically he does. He says, "I'll mention Tawi's forest trespassing property then. It's the most obvious case. He was able to purchase a national forest to build a Are you laughing at me?
Because I remembered how White's like, was there such a case like that? the way they looked at him like, this has been. I
I
just
know.
laughed so hard.
Because black is like really like strongly driving all of this, and the fact
Yeah.
that white's just like, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. But yeah, so
I was
Graham
so
basically,
scared. Like, are you laughing at me?
yeah, because I'm like trying to get this out and you're just like, I'm like, chocolate.
Okay. Right.
So yeah, so
Sorry.
Graham says, okay, I'm going to mention the Tawi Forest trespassing case because it's the most obvious case. He was able to purchase a national forest to build a residence. However, native people previously who resided there were evicted, and it exemplifies the concept of rule by law. He said the same legislation was applied differently. Villagers with no power or voices, they were evicted even if they could provide proof that they'd lived there for generations. And Newt says to him, like, she understands what he's trying to say because, like, obviously what happened was wrong. Like, these people have been living there for
Mhm.
years, and and now they're displaced, and he has built like a mansion in the middle of like a forest, like, which
Yeah.
probably should have been protected anyway. So she understands his anger and his whatever, but she says to him, but Tawi purchased the land, so he has ownership paperwork and the locals had nothing. So she's like,
You
in
won't be
regards to
able.
the
Yeah, it's like you won't be able to use the case by just stating facts like this, stating
yeah,
these things.
because if you apply it to the laws, the law is he has legal permission to build on that land because he owns that land. He has the
Mhm.
paperwork to back it up, like the purchasing paperwork. And so she says to him, if you try and use this case as evidence, you'll fail. You won't get any marks. And yeah, and then we had White ask if it actually existed, and it does. It earns him a bunch of confused looks, and Nooch is just like, what the hell? And Graham just assumes that Black is messing with him, and
Yeah.
so I love the lecturer in this scene because she comes
Me
in
too.
and she's just like, or the professor, she comes in and she's like, oh, here, would you like to revise the study materials? And just like flicks through them all in like 5 seconds flat and goes, okay, that's great. Now let's do the quiz.
I found
And the
that
whole class
scene
is
so
like, what?
funny.
Yeah, the whole class is like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? I had a lecturer who was like that. They would just be like, oh, I'm just gonna leave this up, for a second if you just want to refresh yourself, and like you would literally look up, maybe blink, and it would be gone, and you were just like, this was just mean because now
They
I
meant
don't
it when
remember
they said
anything.
1 second.
I'm like, I don't remember anything. All I remember now, like all I'm experiencing now is I'm pissed off, and so I can't think of anything except for the fact that I'm pissed off. Um, but this whole thing was really interesting. So Pinucci took the director took the opportunity here to tell some, like, I guess, important facts about how the way Thailand works, with their laws, and to try and tell some truths. And in the political climate when this was being made, this had the potential to cause issues and cause problems. And the way they got around that, they didn't just they weren't making it like a political statement. What they did is they put it in a classroom, which made it like a theory-based learning opportunity, kind of. And you'll notice
Mhm.
that like most of the big conversations in this show where they talk about stuff like this, it's almost always at the university. And that's how they got around, like, this is how they
Very smart.
didn't get banned, and they didn't, like, it was a clever way
Mhm.
of putting this
Mhm.
information in here, but also like almost kind of, I guess, just dressing it up in a way that was like, here is the factual information, but we're
Mhm.
not actually, this is a theory, not an actual, we're not making a political statement, so to speak. So it was very clever because it
Yeah, because
was
you have
it,
a gram, but for gram you have a nooch.
yes, exactly. And also you had it put in this learning kind of like, theory of this versus this, and like it was very cleverly framed in a way that gave us the information but also didn't make it something that would basically get this show banned in a show in a place where it's potentially like,
So then they walk out of the class, and White keeps asking about the other guys, and Graham again is like, "You don't usually ask about anyone, you're acting weird today." And White is kind of slowly catching up to who Black is. He understands that he must be cold, and he must aloof, and he must act a bit of like a jerk in order to
Mm-mm.
be credible as Black.
Yeah. The other
he,
thing
he learned it by like making mistakes.
yeah, and the other thing is Graham is probably the best person that he could have come in contact with first, because he is giving him all of these like opportunities to like flail about the place
Yeah,
without
it's like he's
actually
teaching
exposing
him how to
himself.
be Black.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, and because he says to him, even when White says, "I have some things to talk about with them,"
Mm-hmm.
Graham says to him, "Are you guys fighting again?" Like, so he
Mm.
is straight away. He's handed White this information that Black potentially has a hostile relationship with these other people.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just this whole scene here is I want to go back before we get into this. I want to go back to, we were talking before about how there was like all this like discourse at the time when people were like assuming things about how this show would go, partnerships, pairings, whatever. And as I said, one of the things from the get-go was this understanding or whatever that Graham and Black would be a thing because that's how it was in the book. And I remember, as I said, I was thinking that Todd and Black were interesting. But the thing that got me is you said before, there's this bit in this scene here in the car park when they're getting ready to leave the university, where White does a couple more really weird things, and Black says to him, "You keep
Graham.
surprising me. I like this version of you better," which, as you said, implies that he didn't like the way Black was before. So my
I don't
thought
think he
process,
even says, "I like this version of you better." He just says, "I like this version of you. I like
no,
this version of you."
he
Which
likes
is even.
he what he actually says is, "I like you better this way." I think that's the exact words he says. But like, and so that implies that, like, as you said, he maybe didn't like not 100% like the Black the way he was. And so I remember seeing like people talking about like, would they be a pairing, and people saying
He
no,
says,
this is
he
stuff.
says, he says, "I like this version of you." I
Yeah.
just checked.
Okay. And so I remember thinking, like, at the time, thinking exactly what you thought, what you said, is that maybe like, okay, that's kind of like, it's a little bit harsh to Black, and thinking, okay, well, if they are a secret couple, like if because I think in the book when Black gets hurt or something, like no one know. I don't think anyone knows that they're a couple, but I don't really know. I didn't read it, so I don't know. I could be guessing. I'm making stuff up here, but if that was like the premise of the story, let's say that was the premise of the story, and that's how I was kind of in my mind when I started watching this. That was kind of how I understood like the backstory for this, like the book version. And I remember thinking, if they're like a secret couple, then like, and this is he's liking White more. I'm just like, I feel bad for Black. Like that was my personal take on it when I was watching this episode. But I loved this little end scene here when we have like Graham does this great like, you know impressive kind of leap off the side of off the side of the building and into the car
Mhm.
park. And then we we get little Gun, we get little White. He does this like tentative, like,
Don't
oh,
say that. Don't say
what?
little White.
No, but like he does this thing. It just makes him like look a little innocent baby, because he does this like gangly kind of like, I'm gonna slide down the, oh no, and it's so funny to me, like, because there is such a juxtaposition in a scene that happens like later in the show that just you get to see the
Yeah.
character growth of White. And if you side by side like this scene and that scene, it's so funny. But yeah, he does this thing where he's like slides down, and like it's so freaking awkward. It's so hilariously funny. Like it's peak. It's not meant to be really necessarily funny, but it's peak humor for me. Like I died
Yeah,
laughing when I
and
saw this.
this is when Graham actually gets suspicious and he starts closing in on White, and he keeps insisting on his questions, and this is when White finally understands how to respond to Graham so that he actually looks like a black,
Mm-mm. Because
like it's
he
none of your business.
Yeah, and because he does several things in concession that are super suspicious. So he's like super awkward with his movements. He doesn't have his bike, which is like
Yeah.
a big deal for reasons we find out later on. He also, besides not having his own bike, he's like, oh, it wouldn't start.
Hmm.
We're based off what Graham says and the fact that like they're going to a garage where, we later find out that, Black knows the owner very well. You're given the understanding or the impression that Black is very good with his bike. Like if it wasn't
Hmm.
running, he
He
would be
cares
able to
about it
fix
a
it.
lot.
Yeah. So either it would be in such good condition it wouldn't break down in the first place, or if it did break down, he would have the tools and knowledge to fix it. So
Maybe
this oh
he wouldn't have come to the university. He would have stayed um home and fixed the bike instead
yeah,
of going to
especially
uni.
that's right. Especially, yeah, he wouldn't have gone to class, especially considering he needs the bike. He potentially needed the bike for something that they are doing, like that evening or whatever. And there's those suspicious things. And then when Graham is like, okay, I'm willing to let this go for the moment, and he says to him, oh, you can just ride with me, and he grabs a helmet off like a nearby bike and hands it
I found
to White.
that thing so I found it so funny because when I was watching it, because they were trying to make them look like trying to make Black and Graham in White Eyes, all right, look like bad boys, and it's like, whoa, look how bad they are. They just stole a helmet.
Well, I mean, I think
Such
I
bad
think
boys.
I think yes, but also like it kind of also highlights that they're not actually bad boys, because when he gives him the helmet, like White is like, he's like, whose helmet is this kind of thing? And first off, like Black would not care. He would just be like, Black would have just taken the helmet and not given a shit. And he would not like White. White. Graham then says to him, "Who cares?" Like he says, "Who cares? Don't worry about it. We'll bring it back and give it back later." So he's not. They're not actually stealing it in Graham's eyes. They're just borrowing it because they need it. Like they're not actually like he does not looking at it as them stealing. Whereas I feel like if Black took that helmet, that person would never get it back again because he just would not care to return it. Graham still
But
has
actually,
that.
it's like a small miniature idea of what they're doing later, because they're trying to fix a wrong by doing
Wrong.
other smaller wrongs.
Mm-mm. But it's interesting, as I said, like I feel like in the dynamics of things, like White still has, not White, Graham still has this like idealism to him, in like he's like, okay, I'm gonna take this because I need it, but we'll bring it back later. And
Mm.
whereas Black would just be like, I'm gonna take this because I need this, and like this stupid idiot should not have left it here, and so like it's mine now. Or not even that, like he would have just like abandoned it somewhere. I don't know. I don't know that he would have gone out of his way to return it. And I could be wrong about that. Maybe he would. Maybe he's a little soft bean inside. But just like all of these different little things have Graham like, what the hell is going on with you kind of thing. But
Yeah.
he says like, he's like, you keep surprising me. um
Mhm.
then, as you said, like Graham is the most confused he's been. Well, not most confused, but the most suspicious he's been all day. And he really doubles down and says like, where have you actually been? Like, where were you? And as you said, White quickly realizes that he has to be like, I had some personal stuff. It's none of your business. It's interesting because later on, he is like, you can see as he's interacting with each new person, he's starting to get this picture of his brother, like, who the fuck was he and why was he such an asshole?
Yeah.
Like why does everybody hate him, and like if they hate him, why are they like with him? It's quite interesting.
This is basically what episode 1 and 2 are.
Mm-mm.
White getting to know his brother.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go watch part 4.
Okay, let's do it. Part 4. So I just want to say something before we get into like what happened in this part and stuff. I was just looking at like the end screen, like after the episode finishes. It's like one of the different variations of the poster and stuff they had. And I remember our conversation at the beginning of the last episode of the podcast. So the first part of this episode, we were talking about, or I was talking about, how I, on my gravestone I'll still be waiting for like season 2 or whatever, and we were talking about like this show wasn't really about the pairing and all the rest of it, although it is to a certain extent. The poster is really interesting because we on none of the, it's only you only see like you see all the characters, but there's no black, which is interesting because he is a huge part of this show, but we don't actually get his story, like in the like we don't get the majority of his story. Like this is very much White's story. And what I think would have been fun if they were ever going to give us a season 2 would have been like a version where we still got some White and Sean or whatever and other characters, but we actually got to see Black's story. Because I think it would have been a lot of fun to see White play Black, not White, Gun. Sorry, to see Gun play Black like more in depth, like in a longer period of time, and have like character development as Black would have been really interesting to see. But
His character development kind of happened off screen, and it happened because of White's feeling changing. Because White's this connection influenced him as well. This is what we're supposed to understand, I think.
Yeah, but it would have been interesting to see, like, I think I can revisit this anyway later on when we get towards the end of the show, because obviously things happen that I feel like it would have been interesting to investigate afterwards. But like, yeah, we're talking about it now, it's a bit premature. But I just noticed it, like it's just one of those things. I mean, obviously I noticed it back when it was airing and everything that they didn't feature Black on the posters, which is weird. I mean, they could have done that. It's easy enough to do. But to me, it just was like highlighting, I guess, that this was White's story. So, but yeah, so we part 4. We, I was like, when like well, the first note I made is we're going to meet Sean. like while I was waiting for the part 4 to start, I like literally wrote that because I was just like, oh, I'm so excited.
So we get to the garage.
Yeah, they get to the
garage.
Yeah.
And suddenly, what I like is Graham looks at him with this like serious expression on his face, and he nods like he's in serious mode. He's not playing around anymore. They're in the place where things get like serious.
Shit gets done in the garage.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I wanted to say about this is I really like the sets in this show, and I really love the way Pinooch like filmed it as well. Like the way they drive up to the door and that filming opening the big door, and I love the way she filmed this.
The camera work, the operators did a great job on this. Like there's so many gorgeous shots like in this garage, and the way it's lit up, the way things are arranged, it's very like it's an immersive experience watching this.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Like it's always interesting to watch where they are, what they're doing, because you don't get bored but what you're seeing. Like there's always stuff to explore in the background.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot going on, but not and because of the way it is lit and everything, and the what they've used, the colorings, all that kind of stuff. It's not like there's even though there's stuff happening in the back, there's a lot to look at. It's not distracting. Like it doesn't take you away from whatever's happening in the forefront. Which is an interesting balancing act that I think a lot of like set designers don't always get. But yeah, it's interesting that you talked about how like Graham gives him this serious look and like a bit of a head nod. But it's interesting because, you know, Graham gets off his bike, takes off his like university shirt, like he's like shedding like this like, you know, innocent version of himself or whatever. And it's funny because like White copies him, like he's following Graham's lead, and the little nod that Graham gives him is almost like, oh, like it comes across from him like a oh, good, you're actually on board. You're like, you're with us now.
You're
Like, it's
finally
like
yourself. Yeah.
a nod of approval kind of thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I love how we, in this part of the episode, we
Well,
get
actually,
introduced.
I think like the nod meant it comes across as that what he meant was like, now we're getting down to business, right?
Yeah, I
Now
think
we're
so.
starting
Yeah,
to do our own stuff. Now
I
we're
think it's more
serious.
like,
Yeah.
we're ready. Let's do this kind of. Yeah. But it's the one of the things I love about this part of this episode is we get introduced to White's internal dialogue, and because it's so fun.
Yes.
It
Oh
is so
God, I
fun.
love his internal dialogue. I love it. This is one of my favorite things about the series. It's usually not a very good thing in movies or series. It
Because it usually
can
comes
be
across as
as
comedic, like overly comedic.
maybe not comedic, but lazy writing when you don't have you know the skills or the time to show instead of tell. You
Yeah.
use the internal monologue of the character, but here it's always so interesting to hear what he's doing, what he thinks, what he what
Well,
goes through
this
his
isn't.
mind. It's
It's not a
fascinating.
normal situation, is it? Because it's very hard for them to show us how he's feeling or
Mm.
thinking because he's pretending to be someone else. So it's actually like, it is a clever way of using it, and even when it is funny because of the late, like the way he said, like his disbelief at stuff or like whatever, it's never comedic or silly. It's like amusing
But isn't it
because
almost like most times it's about Sean or Black,
yeah, it
isn't it?
usually is. But in the middle, in the beginning here, we get it's still, it is musings about Black in general, because like he introduces, like, seriously, when he introduces himself to Yoke, he greets Yoke, and Yoke's like, what the fuck, why are you
he
messing
tries to
with me?
do he tries to do a bit of small talk, which is a mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he goes like a little bit too hard, and it's just like, the whole thing is hilarious. It's just like, he's like, wow, okay. And then when he so then he goes up to the loft and he finds the
Oh,
weapons
gorgeous, gorgeous scenes, gorgeous scenes.
and the bullet casings and everything.
Hmm.
And once again, I'm attacked by my pop culture reel in my head, because the bird on Sean's door just reminds me of the Mockingjay from like the Hunger Games.
I think that's supposed to be a phoenix, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah. But it totally
Mhm.
reminds me. I don't know. I guess because it's inside the circle or whatever. I don't know. It just reminds me of, whenever I see it, I always think of the Hunger Games. Um,
Yeah,
and
so he's trying to look around and not draw too much attention to himself, but
yeah, trying to sneak into
but he
Sean's
meets.
bedroom, like yeah, let's be low key. Oh, hang on a minute, I'll just sneak into Sean's bedroom. This scene, when I watched this episode, this scene was like, and I have the exact same reaction every time I see this scene. This scene gave me so much love, like so much joy, so much like everything. Because first off, this is when we first get introduced to Off. And oh
Sean.
my god, Sean, you sexy motherfucking beast. Off as Sean is very attractive. I'm just putting that out
Mm.
there right now.
I don't know. Like here, my first impression, I don't get attracted by aggression. So
No, I
I was
just
like,
mean
okay, can you please chill?
when he first opens the door, I was just like, wow, his attractiveness is what I was talking about.
Mm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah,
sorry, what were you saying?
that's what goes through like White's head as well, I think.
I think so too, because I feel like I literally wrote White was like, oh, because I feel like that's his, like, first off, I mean, obviously he was shocked, he wasn't expecting the door to open and then someone to be standing there, and Sean is so hostile, like he's so aggressive, because that is his
Oh yeah,
relationship with White.
but
And so
also
like,
he
no,
takes no bullshit. He just
yeah,
doesn't accept White's lies.
yeah,
So when he's like, "No, that's a lie," White starts stuttering, and that
yeah,
kind of provokes Sean even more, and he grabs him by the neck. And when I'm thinking, like, would Black let himself be grabbed by the neck like
no,
this? Like,
no,
surely a fight
no.
would start.
Yeah, the fact that Sean raises his fist to him is so funny. Like when you like know what we know, like we've seen what Black is like, and he would just have stopped that. He would have shut that shit right down. Like, you know, it would have turned into a full on brawl. But it's just okay. So when you first, like, obviously when I first saw this scene compared to probably when you first saw this scene, you said you didn't know anything. You were just watching it. You probably didn't. You had no idea who. Did you know who Offgun were? Like, I don't know
Oh, well,
what you.
I did know of Gun were a pair. I didn't know. I mean, I knew that they were the main couple of the series. Yeah. I wanted to scream into the pillow because all the slow motion and the music and everything. I was like, oh god, oh god, oh god. You know, I couldn't handle it. It was a bit overwhelming.
It was so funny because when I watched this scene for the first time, I had like this scene full on had me kicking my feet like a crazy person because I am a big bubby, but also I was just like, this scene, oh my god, this is the scene I wanted to talk to my mum about because I was like, holy bajoli, their chemistry in this scene was like, what? And I wasn't expecting it because I was used to puppy honey theory of love Offgun where it's like sweet or it's like, you know, like Off's characters would be aggressive or whatever, but like it was never this had a whole different vibe to it. And it was like I was like, oh my goodness, it's so interesting in the way you can tell like White is so affected by Sean, but he has no idea why. Like he's kind of scared of him, he's kind of interested in him. It's just it's so his interest is so he's so like he like literally he's just like, oh. And then Sean, as I said, Sean is so hostile because obviously the reaction is completely in line with what it would be, you know, as we know what his relationship with Black is actually like. But like when he does this thing, like when he's gonna like hit, like he acts like he's gonna hit Black, and then White flinches in this moment. Oh my god! Like Sean is just like, what the ever loving fuck just happened? Like there is so much going on in Off's face and in his eyes in this scene. I loved it so much. Like
he looks into White's eyes, and those are clearly not Black's eyes.
Yeah,
those are
like
clearly White.
He is so confused, and you can see that there's like this conflicting emotion like going on right now because it's kind of like really intense and interesting. But like so we get this like weird conflicting thing, and then also when they get interrupted by Yoke and he lets go of the back of White's neck, you can see how hard like Off was holding on to him, like the fingerprints, you know, like the hand, you know, like when you grip someone's skin or whatever and you get the white spots and then you let go and the hand mark disappears, like you had that at the back of Gun's neck. And I was like, oh crap. But like so he's holding him so tight and I was just like, wow, this chemistry here was crazy. And it's so funny because you could, like, I was curious as to see how you watched this scene, whether you just watched it and was like, oh, you know, or whether or not you felt that chemistry. And I was like, because I was really surprised. I wasn't expecting this. And it's so funny because White is like scared of him here, but he's also like so curious.
I was not surprised because I was not expecting a certain chemistry. I was just, you know, going along with whatever they were giving me.
And to me, it was so funny because, like, as I said, like he's just his reaction to him and everything, and then when like, you know, Sean like kind of storms off and he does this thing where like basically like kind of like droops a little bit like in relief, but also like what the fuck was that kind of like moment. And I just went, holy crap, this is gonna be so like I was like, Mom, this is gonna be so interesting, like it's so like crazy, like oh my goodness.
It's so funny how White is like interested, like so very interested in him right away. He's like, ooh, this guy doesn't like Black that much. I mean, who would want to punch a friend? Like, you know, like haven't you noticed he like everyone wants to punch you and suddenly like this person has your whole attention. This person intrigues you. Like this is where you want to look now.
Yes, Sean is his main and it's so funny because like I think later, I can't quite remember, but I think later on he says something to in a future episode he says something to Todd like I think Sean is suspicious. It's like, no, you don't. You just want to like investigate him and like spend more time with him and like talk about him some, because you're like you have like a a crush. You're fascinated by him. But yeah, when Sean grabs him close in this scene, and he says to him like, "What are you doing? Like, don't lie to me. Tell me the truth. You know, why were you trying to sneak in my room?" And like White is just like stuttering and stumbling over his words. Like, I feel like he's just like Sean pulls him so close to him. Like, I would be
That's so
like,
unlike White, though, because he always has something to say. He always has a response. He always knows
but
how
I
to.
don't think he's ever had a like this is the thing, isn't it? This is what it's like
Yeah,
sometimes. You can be like the mouthiest son of a bitch out there, but then you meet this person who like, wow, I
yeah.
don't know. Are you a unicorn? Can I pet you? Like, you just he does not know. Like, he clearly has never had a physical whatever
Mm-hmm.
reaction to
Interaction like
anybody
this. Yeah.
the way he
Mm-hmm.
does in this moment. And clearly, if he's like, we don't know, because you don't really get the backstory or whatever, but if like he's only ever had girlfriends or something, this would be a whole like, well, hello moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and it is a little bit like, it's confrontational, so it shouldn't be like interesting, but clearly it is for them.
It's
um
like it's like exciting in a very, very confusing way.
yeah, oh, for sure. And he's just, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like he's a bit like, why is he so pretty? Because like, I feel like that was kind of his
No,
reaction.
Zoe, but why? Why are they so pretty?
Oh, seriously, both of them? I know. But I mean, I was more referring to, I think that White was like, why is Sean so pretty? But yeah, I agree. Why are Often so pretty?
A serious
It's
question.
Dorian Gray. Dorian Gray is the answer. But yeah, it's just, it's like, it's so funny because, as I said, I feel like he's like, why is he so pretty, and doesn't know what to do with it, and has no idea what's going on. And when he
And then he
flinches,
wants to investigate. Like he wants to investigate why he's so pretty, and he just
yeah,
keeps
exactly.
staring at
I need
him.
to know why he's so pretty. And yeah, when he flinches, it's so interesting to me because it's so out of character for Black. Like, it's like the most out of character thing he's done so far, and the fact that like Sean, as I said, even dares to grab a hold of him in that scene and raise his arm, like, you just know that there would have been a fight, right? And
Yeah, because
then
like
Sean's,
instead of attacking, he is defending himself, and
yeah,
I feel like Black would be attacking.
yeah, and Sean's reaction to that is obviously, it's like, it's so interesting to me because he's so thrown by it, because it's also like, obviously he's shocked, but he's like kind of a little bit as well, like intrigued, but also concerned, not about Black,
Mhm.
because like he doesn't, at this point in time, he doesn't give two shits about Black, but he needs Black, and he needs Black to be a certain way. And the
He is the
biggest
leader in
the
this
yeah the
thing.
biggest conflicts that they have initially, obviously, is because he isn't the Black that Sean needs, and it scares the crap out of Sean. um so, and also, like, suddenly, once again, also Sean is having soft, warm underbelly bit feelings for this guy that he fucking hates. Like, this must have been so confusing, like, for a character. This would be, you hate this person. You hate this person with 1,000 fiery suns, but you know that you need them to achieve your goals. And then suddenly this person is soft and sweet and kind and paying attention to you, and you know
Well, this hasn't happened yet, but that's going to happen soon.
but do you know what I mean? Like, this is why
Yeah.
it's just, I was so excited. I could see it. I could see it all like unfurling, and and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's interesting because, as I said, you see like a hint of concern, and it's
Hmm.
definitely because he needs Black to be a certain way to perpetuate his own agenda. Um,
He needs, yeah, he needs Black to be the rock
yeah,
that he can
and
rely
it's
on.
yeah, and it's such an interesting dynamic that they have, like, from the initial bit to like later on as well. Um, but yeah, and then
Yeah,
of
and then
course,
they have
obviously,
their bring me the engine oil thing, and
yeah, the way
I'm
they
like,
bicker, like,
Black
yeah,
Wooden.
yeah. the way they bicker is just so funny. Like I
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, the other thing I wanted to say too as well, like the way um like Gun slash White looks up in between his like fingers when he's flinched. Like he has these big doe eyes, and like no wonder they
Uh-huh.
fall in love. That was my that was my takeaway from that scene. But yeah, the way they bicker is so funny. And then of course he's like, "Why would you want to punch your friend?" And yeah, it's this way he tries to do the whole bravado thing. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm making sure you're fixing it pretty properly," and there's
Mhm.
like such sass in it. And then of course Sean just sasses right back, like you didn't even bring a ride. And now you're just like a burner on us. um and it's so funny the bit with the engine oil, because I would totally have been White would have been me, because I don't know jack shit about cars. I would have been like, sure, I'll get that for you. Okay, what does it look like? um
I thought that could be like, go take it yourself,
mm,
which is why Sean assumes that White did that on purpose when he splashes him with the oil.
yeah. And also the other thing is like he says to him, I'm changing the oil, there's nowhere else for the oil pan to go because it's going to leak. Obviously you would leak it, not leak it, you would like empty it out in that place or whatever. And so like that is something Black would know. So for
Mhm.
him to walk into the tray, it seems deliberate to Sean. But the oil scene, oh my god, the oil scene is just like, it's the gayest thing I've ever seen. And it's so funny
It's
because
so
like we have him say to Black, like, when did you become such a baby? And I'm just no, that happens later on. Sorry. We yeah, the whole we had the whole oil scene, and they're rolling around on the ground and they're rubbing up on each other, and Gumpa's just like, what the fuck are you two doing? Because it is the gayest thing I've ever seen. And I
yep.
feel like in this moment we have Gumper has become the official shipper of Sean and White. Because he definitely
They're like, oh,
facilitates.
they're so cute together. I must
Yeah,
help them.
I need to make them get along so they won't make a mess in my garage. But yeah, and when they he sends them outside to clean the oil off, and the the pressure washing hose shower, like, ouch, I have to say ouch to that, because that would hurt. And depending on the psi like
Why
pressure of that.
why
Yeah.
looks so scandalized at Sean during that scene. I find it hilarious.
Yeah, and it's so
And
funny.
he's
Well, because
like,
he,
you just go. I'll do it myself. And Sean's like, I must wash too.
yeah. But like the way when he squirts him with the water, like that would have hurt. So it's so funny. But like I love how he
Mhm.
goes to him, when did you become such a baby? And I'm like, please, Sean, you're about to fall in love with this big soft baby. It's gonna be what you
Yeah.
love about him. Um,
Also, what I like it when they come back to the garage, White is sneakily trying opening all the
all
lockers
the
and
doors, yeah,
yeah, until he gets the one that he needs. Oh, and also a funny thing. So York designed the masks, right? And they have this whole conversation about how Sean thinks unique is good, and you know
White
what's
is the
not unique? Twins.
no, but also White is the unique version of Black. And then also we
So
had
he likes things that are unique, and he falls in love with the person who looks like another person.
yeah,
So then,
a
oh,
carbon copy.
yep, and Black thinks nothing is good. And Gumpa says, "You guys talk about him like he isn't here, and he isn't here."
Yeah, because he's all. That's right. I know there's so many like hilarious jokes happening. So
Mm.
yeah, well that's the thing, right? Like it's so funny because they're all just bagging him, like, and it's proper. It's quite funny too because obviously the fact that Goomba says the way he says it implies that they do that even when Black is there, and so.
Mhm.
Like Black just doesn't give a fuck like what any of them think
Mhm.
or what they say. Like he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so there's such a different reaction because White's like, why does everybody hate me, my brother? And this whole scene is hilarious because you have they're all standing around. You have Gunpa giving instructions. White has no idea what's going on. He gets handed a couple of Molotov cocktails and he's like, what the hell? And he still has no idea what's going on. And then Sean
Sean
is
keeps
challenging
watching
him.
him.
Yeah, Sean
Sean
is
is watching
challenging
him.
him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, are you good? Can you do this? And he's like, no, what does he say? Are you ready? Or something. He's like, I'm always ready. He's like, White's like, I
I
was
feel
born
like
ready.
in this moment, White still goes along with whatever is happening because he still trusts his brother. He still
Yeah.
trusts that he wouldn't do something drastic. He doesn't
Yeah.
know him yet.
Yeah. And it's so funny because like I mean I know what's coming in the next episode. Like there's a line in the next episode that gives White like this huge, I guess, revelation about his brother and like a massive whiplash for him in regards to like trying to align the brother he knew and this person.
Also, another hilarious line from Gumpa: Black, you take care of everything. And White is like, huh?
Yeah, and like White's got like no idea what's going on, and just there's so many little subtle nuances to this episode that just had me, when I watched it, just had me rolling. Like one of them was in this end bit. Like first off, Sean's like he hates him. Sean, why do you suddenly want him on your bike? Because like if this was Black, like if they hadn't have just had the interaction that they had, there's no way he would have had Black on his bike. Like no fucking way. He would have been like, Black, you can walk there.
Maybe because he is concerned, he wants to have him up
Yeah.
close so that he
Yeah,
can
yeah.
watch over whatever
I
is
think so.
happening to him.
Because he
So
clearly
he's
is
like,
like,
you,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
So
keep it
he's like,
close.
you with me, you're with me, and White starts walking towards him, but he forgets about the helmet. So,
I know, yeah.
so Sean tells him about the
He
helmet.
keeps
White
doing
has this
all of
look.
these. Yeah, once again, one more sus thing. And what I said, like the subtle nuances, is like this little like head shake that Sean does. Like he's having like a what the fuck moment, like another moment where he's just like, what is wrong with him? Like what drugs is he
Yeah,
smoking?
but at this point, White is already kind of half dead inside. So it's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Another mistake. Who cares?
Yeah, he's like, oh, they haven't like kicked me out yet. And then of course they're on the bikes and they're ready to go, and Sean's like, let's go burn down Tawi's house. And White's like, what?
What a fun scene, though, the way it's filmed with the music. It's so
Engaging.
dynamic.
Yeah, and
Yes,
interesting. Yeah.
it's very good. It's like it leaves you hanging and you're like, oh my God, no, it
Yeah.
cannot end here.
Well, I mean, as I said, I watched this like live as it was going, sort of thing. And I remember when it ended the way it did, I was like, are you serious right now? And I think I had that response every single episode. I was like, Pinucci, how dare you? Like, what are you even? And then sometimes she would show trailers that would make it better. And then sometimes she would show us trailers that would make it so much worse. And I was like, it's like 7 days. I have to wait 7 days. How could you? And normally I don't have that reaction in a show until about episode 7, 8, something like that, 6, 7, 8. I was like, from the first episode I was like, wait, what? I need to know what happens next. But yeah, because of course we kind of all had the same reaction that White had when like Sean's like, let's go burn down the house. We're like, wait, hang on, wait, what? They really are criminals? So, which obviously it's not as simple as that, but yeah.
Yes. So this is it. This is episode 1. We had a lot to say. We had a lot. I mean, I'm surprised. I was expecting this discussion to be long, but wow.
I'm so excited. It's really funny because when I finished watching part 4, I like kept going so I could watch the trailer, and like I would do if we were watching a show live. And I know what happens because I've seen the episode. I've seen episode 2 like a bunch of times. I actually don't know how many times I've watched this show, but I've seen it. When it was airing, I watched it multiple times because I watched it first. I watched it, then I watched it with my mom, then I watched it with like two of my like K-pop friends. Then you and I watched
you
it.
had to, while waiting for the next episode, you would go back and rewatch every episode that already came out. That was happening to me. Like I had to go back and rewatch everything, and every week I'd add another episode to the list.
Yeah. And I also watched it with my mum and her friend. We watched it with her, and then also, as you said, there was a lot of rewatching, and I watched so many reactions, like so many reactors,
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah,
when this was airing,
that's
and I
what
had a couple of
loneliness does to you.
favorite reactors, and I would just like die to wait to see what they had to say, because I was just like, once again, I had no one to talk about in the beginning, like no one to talk with about it in the beginning, and this was a great, like, it was a one-sided conversation, but it was still kind of fun, and
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, I had so much fun. But yeah, so I kept part 4 going, and I watched the trailer, and I was like, I so want to watch the next part now. Like, what, we're gonna wait like it's not even a week, it's 2 weeks, right? Our schedule is fortnightly for this
Yes, yes, yes.
this podcast. As I said, split into two. So the first part will be on a Thursday and the second part will be on a Saturday, but it will be once a fortnight. So it won't be weekly. We're doing something different in between. More to come on that later on. But yeah, so
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I want to watch it all now. Is my reaction right now. I'm so excited about Not Me. I'm like, this show is amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing. I missed it so much. I've been avoiding
Oh my god,
everything
I am gonna
about it because I
face
was trying to
first.
forget stuff to forget as much as possible, which
Yeah, I am gonna
yeah.
fall face first into my Not Me playlists. I can just see it coming already. I will have abandoned all other all other sounds except for the Not Me playlist. But yeah, and I actually think I made one as well. I had so much fun with the music in this show, and it
Oh,
was
to be
just,
in things.
oh yeah. It's just, yeah, I don't know what else to say except for, if for some reason you're listening to this and you have not watched Not Me, you should stop whatever you're doing right now. Whatever you're doing right now is not important. And like, just immediately go and watch Not Me. What we'll do is we'll in the post, we'll put the links for the episodes, so you can check it out. It's on YouTube on GMM TV channel, but we'll make it easy for you because, you know it's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. It's really serious, but it's also a lot of fun. It's very cute, very sweet, um, and just, like, I don't know. I felt like it completely changed how I felt about BLs in general. Um, there are
changed,
definitely
it's
there
changed the way I viewed lots of things, not just BLs.
Yeah, true. I feel
It
like
was
this
definitely a
this
life altering experience for
it
me.
is, yeah. Yeah, same. I would, like I said, this is hands down my favorite BL, obviously, but like, I feel like
It's yeah, for me, it's one
it's
of my favorite series ever.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
like
Yeah, it's in my favorite series category as well, not just like limiting
yeah,
it to a BL. Because the unique thing about this is, yes, it is a love story, and there is definitely a romance that builds and happens. Actually, there's more than one, but like, it is it's about so much more than that, and it's really interesting to see how it all comes about. And it's a show that, the thing with Not Me is this is a show that had something to say, and it did it
yeah.
very, very well. And you felt, you went away from it feeling like, not only had you been educated about something, but not in a patronizing way, in a very interesting, insightful way. And it made you feel something enough to like have conversations, like real conversations about stuff.
Mhm.
um and as you said, some of these things hit close home to you. You can empathize with the situation. um I'm from a different sort of place where we don't necessarily have that, but at the same time, it still made me go, wow, I had no idea. And I read so much information at the time. I actually went and looked into certain things because I was so curious the way it had been framed in this show. And given that, like, I was, starting to get invested in the characters and the actors more, and suddenly I had a Twitter account for BL stuff and that, and I was just I'm like, I'm in this now. I need to know. Like, I don't want to be ignorant of things. And
Mhm.
it's like, I feel like sometimes because of that, unfortunately, Not Me has given me very high expectations. And so, when we watch a show where we think they're doing something similar, when we think that they're trying to tell a really important message or put something, and it falls short, or that's not actually what they're doing, it's such a disappointment, because you're like, oh, it's such a missed opportunity. And some people aren't interested in that. Some people just want they want a cute story and a romance, and they want to forget
I mean,
their day-to-day
sometimes,
lives.
like, it's not like some people, it's everyone.
Yeah, true.
It depends
But
on the moment.
yeah, I feel like though the thing that this show does really, really well is, I feel like even if you wanted an escape from your daily life, if you want to escape from your life and you want to watch a romance, like, this is still a romance, like, this is,
Yeah.
but the way it was filmed, the way it's framed, the way the story is told, is, to me, this feels more mainstream. Like, I would I easily showed this to friends who've never seen a BL before, and
Yeah, me
for
too.
like 2/3 of the story, I know I got excited over when Sean and White met here, because I knew what was coming
I
in
feel
the
like
future. Like, I
the
knew, I could see, I saw the sign, like, I could see what was coming.
uh
But, like, the average, like, viewer might pick up on the chemistry, but they're not necessarily going to go, oh, look, these two boys are going to fall in love or whatever. Like, it's just,
I feel like
you
the
know
only thing that makes it feel like a BL is that there are two gay couples. If they left the only gay couple to be Sean and White,
mm-hmm.
then basically you don't even be able to call it BL. It should be just a series with queer characters. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just, it's a bit unrealistic that or not unrealistic, but mainstream series wouldn't really do that,
yeah,
have like multiple main all the main not all but multiple main couples to be.
yeah. Yeah, it changes
That's
the
like
genre
really
when they do that.
yeah.
Even
Mhm.
though, funnily enough, it's like, I mean, obviously, us gays, we hang out together, but we do also have straight
Mhm.
friends.
Yeah,
um,
I mean, they didn't it was probably not their intention to look like a mainstream
I
series.
don't think so.
They
I don't
wanted
think
they
so at all.
they were making a BL, so they made a
Yeah,
BL,
yeah. I mean, look,
which is
look at some.
completely okay.
Yeah, look at some BLs as well. Some BLs will make everybody gay. It's like, you're gay, you're gay, we're all gay. And you know what? Sometimes that's fun. I was a full advocate
Yeah,
for that in Cooking Crush.
yeah.
I
It's just
wanted
that
all the
this
gays,
one just
all the
feels different. This
yeah,
one
yeah,
feels different in a way that makes it feel mainstream. I don't know. It's weird.
yeah. And it's not so much that it
Yeah.
makes it feel mainstream, because sometimes I think mainstream shows suck. But I feel like it's just, you could
Mainstream in the sense
comfortably.
that the general public that is not interested in BL could watch it and just not could you say bite an eye, flip an eye, what do you say,
Yeah, yeah,
blink
yeah.
an
Like
eye,
it. Yeah, yeah. So, like, I mean,
to watch
if
it
you
and really not question anything, not
yeah,
be like what am I
it's
watching.
not a. It
It
felt
does
very
not feel
like,
like a specific genre.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Because there was so much more happening than just the romance of it, and I feel like and as I said, especially with Sean and White, I feel like there was so much more going on, because we had the White Black storyline, we had Sean and White scene, we also had White storyline with everybody else, his own personal journey. We had the villain of the piece. We had all this, action stuff happening. We had all these things happening. The actual fact, as I said, the only time that made it feel a little bit actually more BL-y for me was when we had scenes with the secondary couple. I felt they were more BL-y side of that than, and not all the time, but there were a couple of things. But there are some amazing scenes between the secondary couple. There's one scene that, like, I upcoming that I bawled my ass off. I was so not expecting it. I was so surprised. I
Well,
actually can't
we'll
wait to
talk
talk
about
about
it
it when we get to it.
when it happens.
Yeah, when we get to it,
Yeah.
I'll be like, this was the zebra. Yeah.
So I guess this is it. Thank you for hanging out with us. Follow us on Twitter, on Tumblr, on Spotify. Send us us. Interact with us.
Yes, thank
Goodbye.
you. See you next time. Bye bye.